What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Pee Wee the Plug, and I'm excited because for the first time in a long time, we have trade news that doesn't involve Damian Lillard or James Harden. If you don't know, the Indiana Pacers and Buddy Hield have gone back and forth on a potential contract extension. They haven't been able to come to an agreement, so the Pacers are going to be looking to pivot and find a new home for Buddy Hield via the trade market. In today's video, we're going to be reacting to some of those potential destinations. I got some trade ideas from y'all from Twitter. I'll be reacting to that. But before we dive in there, I just want to remind you guys to make sure you hit that like button for me. And if you're new and you enjoy this type of content and you're excited for the NBA season, make sure you subscribe. Now, the Indiana Pacers, let me talk to you guys and your fan base for a second. When it comes to trading a player on the last year of their deal, typically and normally we've seen the value not be through the roof. I've seen a lot of Indiana Pacer fans that are hoping for the OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges of the world. I think you should close the door on any of those type of ideas. Unfortunately, as good as Buddy Hield is, especially with his three-point shooting, you're probably not bringing in a highly valued player due to the fact that he's on the last year of his deal. So if you pivot from that idea, I think you should more so focus on potentially bringing in another expiring deal that expires at the end of the year or maybe the end of next year to give you some cap flexibility. But more importantly, you should be looking for more draft assets because this Indiana Pacers regime has showed us that they can draft well. Andrew Nembhard was a home run pick in my opinion. Bennedict Mathurin, home run pick. I love the way Jarris Walker looks in the front court next to Miles Turner potentially. That can be a home run pick. So if there's a team that'll give you 2 or 3 second round picks for Buddy Hield, I think you take that. If there's a team that's willing to give you a future first round pick that maybe be a little bit protected for Buddy Hield, I think you take that. Right now, it's hard to dictate what's the value of Buddy Hield around the league because I think every team values him different. I think there is a contending team that potentially could be desperate enough to give you a first round pick. Then there's going to be middle contending teams who aren't there yet, but they have a strong foot in the playoff door that may be like, hey, we'll give you 2 second round picks. And then you have some teams like my Knicks who may have a bunch of first round picks laying around and they may say, here, take this one and give us Buddy Hield because we need the 3-point shooting. So I'm not sure exactly what the value is there. Obviously, if you can get first round value for Buddy Hield, I think you jump on that. If you can get, second round picks, I think you jump on that. We've seen the value of second round picks over this last year go up tremendously. Guys are going all around 2 second round picks here, 2 second round picks here. There's guys who we all thought had first round pick value as far as the trade market who removed for 2 or 3 second round picks. So a lot of these guys are not as valuable as we sometimes think, especially on the last year of their deal. So if I'm a Pacers fan, I'm putting that into my realistic thought process that maybe we're not going to bring in OG Anunoby. I'm not saying if you can, you don't. Hey, if the Toronto Raptors call the Pacers right now and for whatever reason they're telling you that they'll give you OG Anunoby in some way for Buddy Hield, if you're the Pacers, you jump all over that. But in my realistic mindset, I think you're more so looking at some of these deals that I've seen where it's a major contract and then there's a 2027 first round pick, 2028 first round pick, or there's an expiring deal with 2 second round picks attached to it, which we'll see in a second. But I think I more so would love to see the Pacers come into this year and seeing what they have fully, seeing what you have in Jarris Walker, seeing what Bennedict Mathurin and Nembhard look like in year 2, seeing a full year of Tyrese Halliburton, and now you have Obi Toppin, and now you even have Bruce Brown. You know what I mean? Seeing exactly what you have. So going forward, hey, we have a glaring hole at this position. We really need depth at this position. And now with cap flexibility and draft assets, you never know what the door is going to open for you in the next couple of years. Guys are hopping on the market left and right every 3 to 5 months, if we're being honest, in the NBA. That's my idea and thinking for the Pacers. Hopefully that's what a lot of their fans are thinking, because I did see some trade ideas from some Pacer fans and I was a little bit like, you may be on 2K, you know what I mean? You may be thinking in a fantasy world, but I'm not sure if that type of talent is coming through the door for Buddy Hield. So now we have CBS in front of us, and CBS has Buddy Hield trade rumors, 3 possible destinations with the Pacers sharpshooter on the block again. And the first team that they have up here is the Toronto Raptors. They're basically saying the Raptors ranked almost last in the half-court offense. They don't have Fred VanVleet anymore. He was replaced with Dennis Schroeder. Any shooting improvement could go a long way, so how about a swap for Gary Trent Jr., who just opted into the final year of his deal? This is one of the first things that popped in my mind when I seen the Raptors and Pacers, more so Gary Trent Jr. than OG Anunoby. I think if there's a way that you could potentially get Gary Trent Jr. on his expiring deal with some type of draft capital, I think this is a win for the Pacers. Gary Trent Jr. isn't Buddy Hield, but he's kind of bringing you the same type of skill set, which is going to be some three-point shooting, and you're asking him to defend a little bit. He'll probably walk, right? He'll probably walk and go into free agency. If he does, that opens up a little bit of money for you, the same way Buddy Hield would have, except you have added draft capital. Do I think the Raptors are giving you a first round pick? No, I don't think the Raptors are that confident in what they have in their team to give you a first round pick. I think they know that they'll need it. Maybe they give you a protected one, but I think they're one of those teams that'll maybe give you a few second round picks and Gary Trent, and then they bring in Buddy Hield, and now they have Dennis Schroeder, Buddy Hield, OG, Scotty, Pascal, Jakob Poeltl. They have something that's a little bit more geared towards making the playoffs than the previous year. This is an idea that it came to my mind. Again, Pacer fans probably like, man, we want OG or nothing, OG or nothing. I think Gary Trent Jr. is a little bit more realistic, but I also like him too because, like I said, he kind of fills the void of what Buddy Hield was doing for you, just not at the level. Buddy Hield is one of the best three-point shooters in the league. I'm not saying Gary Trent Jr. is shooting the ball like that, but Gary Trent Jr. can shoot the ball for sure. Trent is no slouch, shooting over 40%, yes, from deep, falling to 37 for Toronto. He's more reliable marksman. Their guard glut could remain, but Rick Carlisle loves stacking lineups with ball handlers and will have no trouble finding use for Trent. If Hield doesn't work out in Toronto, lottery pick Grady Dick, a sharpshooter in his own, is waiting to replace him. I don't think that would matter. The only thing about Toronto is what they give him extension, and is that needed for Buddy Hield and where he goes. Because I like this for Toronto. Toronto is like, hey, let's try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, we'll move on from Pascal. Buddy Hield can walk, probably move on from OG if we need to, and you'll just start a whole new regime with a bunch of money, maybe some draft capital that you get from moving on from OG and Pascal or one or the other, and I like that. But I think they should give it a go one more time with Pascal, OG, Scotty, and if you can bring in a Buddy Hield, I'll double down on that just one more time in Toronto. The Houston Rockets, Kevin Porter Jr. is facing domestic violence allegations at the moment, and as a result, the Rockets are looking for a trade. No team is actually going to trade for Porter, expecting him to play him. Even before these allegations, he came with a lengthy track record of off-court issues. However, the unique nature of his contract makes him viable salary filler in a deal like this. Porter's deal is nominally 4 years. Anyway, I don't like this. I'm not a fan of this, not particularly for the Pacers. In my opinion, why would I trade him to the Rockets and bring in Kevin Porter Jr.? Number one, I don't like the look of it as a franchise because of the allegations that are on his name. And also, I don't want to just give Buddy Hield away. If I have Gary Trent Jr. and 2 second-round picks, why would I go get Kevin Porter Jr.? It makes no sense. Whether he's going to be dead money or cap, we don't want him anywhere near our franchise right now. And the time being, we not touching that right now. And in conclusion, there's also a guy in Gary Trent and other teams that'll have players that can literally play. The guy literally won't be around a team, won't ever put on a jersey. We just don't want that. So I don't like this idea. I've been seeing it a lot. The Kevin Porter Jr., the Rockets are looking to trade. I don't know why any franchise would even get involved with that. Your fan base won't be happy, and everybody around the league is going to look at you like, what are you doing? Just let him sit with the Rockets, and the league will put in any punishment they need to, and we'll go from it for that. But you don't just let that type of, hey, because it's money. There's other ways that you can open up your cap than trade it for somebody with those type of allegations on their name. The Brooklyn Nets. The Nets had one of the greatest collections of shooters in NBA history last season. Kevin Durant, Kyrie is gone, Joe Harris and Seth Curry and Patty Mills. But do you know who's still around? Very much needs shooting around him. Ben Simmons. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson provide their fair share, but if Brooklyn hopes to survive offensively with Simmons and Nick Claxton on the floor together, and simply needs more shooting to properly space the floor. Brooklyn, fortunately, has a trade exception just shy of $20 million from trading Harris to Detroit. That exception could absorb Hield's $19.2 million deal. The Nets, who are extremely deep on the wings, could then send Royce O'Neal on the wing-needy Pacers. This deal would leave the Nets roughly $2 million above luxury tax, which owner Joe Tsai likely does not want to pay after years above the line. It is likely deal killer here. Then why do we put it in there? I like Brooklyn. My only thing again is like, you have a need for wings, but Royce O'Neal, is that what you want? Let's take a look. I got FanSport in front of me just because I know I wanted to look at some of these deals in real time. And when you talk about wings and you have Royce O'Neal, Okay, Royce O'Neal's on the last year of his deal. $9.5 million, basically $10 million deal that'll go off your books. If the Nets were to add some draft capital, maybe they have a bunch of it, I would do it. And for the Nets, I like the idea of potentially having, well, we have to see, we don't know, Ben Simmons, and then you put a bunch of shooters around him, like McHale, Cam Johnson, Buddy Hield. You still have Nicholas Claxton, Dorian Finney-Smith. That would be an interesting trade. Buddy Hield, trade to Nets, and then we trade Royce O'Neal to the Pacers, and then we have to give. So the Nets have a first-round pick from Phoenix. This is where it gets tricky. So the Nets don't have their own first-round pick, so they don't have as many first-round picks as I thought. They only have Phoenix's. Then in 2027, they have 3. So this is where you can give them a future first-round pick potentially, or you give them some second-round picks and call it a day. But give them Phoenix's first-round pick. That's just if you need it. The other part with a team like Brooklyn that I don't like, they don't have a star. So I think they're kind of capped on what their ceiling could be for a team. So do they want to stress every measure to go and get Buddy Hield? I don't know. I don't know if you need to do that. I would keep all of my draft picks if I'm the Nets, me personally. The Pacers aren't just taking Royce O'Neal. If you can take the second round picks, cool. But again, I still prefer Gary Trent. Next, we got Bleacher Report, always on top of it when it comes to potential trades. The first thing that they got is the Lakers. Of course, the Lakers got to get involved somehow, some way. And of course, they say, I know what you're thinking, but no, you did not accidentally click on the article from September 2022. This is 2023, and we once again are talking about Buddy Hield potentially becoming a Laker. The Lakers and Pacers, obviously the Russell Westbrook stuff, we get. What are they talking about? The Lakers have a straightforward offer. D'Angelo Russell and future second-round picks on the table as soon as Russell was eligible to be traded. Russell floundered in 2023 playoffs and was largely brought back because the Lakers weren't going to be able to replace him with cap exceptions. Moving Russell for Hield would also allow Austin Reeves to take a more ball-dominant role in the offense. As it stands, Reeves and Russell are going to be wrestling back and forth for the secondary ball handler role behind James. One of the two will lose a battle and ultimately wind up either unhappy or overpaid, fading into the background. So the thing about the Lakers and the Pacers, if I'm the Pacers, why do I want D'Angelo Russell? With all due respect, I like D'Angelo Russell, but if I'm the Pacers, why do I want D'Angelo Russell? D'Angelo Russell, 2 years, $17 million deal. It's not bad value for D'Angelo Russell, but is D'Angelo Russell going to be able to be D'Angelo Russell on a team like this? I don't think so. Lakers also got some picks. They got a second-round pick, and we'll give them another second-round pick, I guess. Try this trade. It failed. D'Angelo Russell can't be traded for 3 months. Okay, we understand he has to pass his eligibility to be traded, which is very soon, October 5th. But other than that, it looked like the trade will go through. Yeah, I don't like it for the Pacers because if you need wings, go get wings. But you have Tyrese Halliburton, TJ McConnell, Andrew Nembhard. You don't need D'Angelo Russell if you're the Indiana Pacers. We can take the Lakers off of the table. The next team we have, Boston Celtics. Malcolm Brogdon doesn't appear to happy, particularly with the Celtics, and just so happens to have a $22.5 million salary that will work for matching purposes with Hield. Adding Hield doesn't do anything to solve Boston's desperate need for a reliable primary ball handler, but neither did Brogdon as he was floundering in the Eastern Conference Finals. Brogdon for Hield is an imperfect solution, but it may be the only one Boston has before the start of the regular season, and likely Brogdon will show up to camp and be good soldier despite his frustrations. If the Celtics can find an available point guard, I don't like this. Let's just cut to the chase. Number one, Brogdon already played for the Pacers, man. He already played for the Pacers. Brogdon make $22.5 million. How many years is on this deal? Let's just see. We'll go to the Boston Celtics, and we shall see how many years is left. 2 years left on this deal, $22.5 million. The picks that the Celtics have, they don't have anything significant. They're probably not giving a first-round pick for Buddy Hield. Now, that is something. If Boston is like, hey, we'll give you a first-round pick in one of these 3 seconds, then I say, come on, I'll take Malcolm Brogdon again. But because of his injury history, because, again, you have a bunch of guards already, because it's $22.5 million per year, and it's two years on that, I just don't know how I feel about that. Not ruling it out, but I'm still leaning towards the Gary Trent unless Boston gives a first-round pick. Boston has a history of being very, very greedy when it comes to their picks. Don't know if you get that from them. San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are eventually going to be have to build a functional basketball team around Vic. Right now, they're a mismatched collection of players who do more harm than help Wembanyama's development if it weren't for guiding the hand of Greg Popovich behind the scenes. Wemby may eventually develop into a two-way superstar. What's the deal looking like? Adding Hield as it stands, San Antonio surrounding his non-shooting future superstar. I like the Spurs, but are the Spurs giving up Keldon Johnson? That's the one thing I'll say. The Spurs are a forward-thinking organization. So the Spurs are the type of team that, yeah, they would look at Keldon Johnson and be like, hey, we like Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson has been really, really good. He's really, really solid. But we don't know if Keldon Johnson is worth $20 million a year right now. We don't know. So in order to get away from that contract that we had to give him, because that's just how the NBA works right now, we'll trade him for Buddy Hield. That works. This is one of the few teams that I don't think they would have to give up draft capital. If I'm the Spurs and I'm giving you Keldon Johnson and I'm getting back Buddy Hield in the last year of his deal, yeah, I'm not giving you any draft capital. The Spurs are going to be holding on to their draft capital because they have a rebuilding team. So the question is, and y'all let me know in the comments, how much do you value Keldon Johnson if you're the Spurs? Me personally, I like Keldon Johnson. I like his game. I'm a Devin Vassell guy. They both could fit. They both could work. I would love to see them both there with Vic and see how that works. But they are going to need some shooting. I think Devin Vassell gives you that, but he's more of a mid-range sniper, if we're being honest. This team isn't going to have it figured out for a while. They're going to be a rebuilding team. Vic isn't going to come in and make this team a playoff contender all of a sudden. So this rebuild has at least another year and a half to 2 years going forward. Clearing some money from Keldon Johnson, not mad at it. The Spurs have done a good job of absorbing bad contracts to be able to get draft capital. They have 34 picks right here. They got 1 first-round pick. They have Charlotte's first-round pick. They have Toronto's first-round pick. Granted, these are protected, but I'm sure that the protections are, hey, if we don't convey these picks, they turn into this or they turn into that. So they have 3 first-round picks, 2 of them protected, a second-round pick. You have 3 first-round picks in 2025. You have 3 second-round picks in 2025. You have 2 first-round picks in 2026. You have 5 second-round picks in 2000. They have enough to be able to shelter some picks away if they absolutely need it. But I don't know if you would need it in this trade. So it just comes down to how much you value Keldon Johnson. But I think the Spurs aren't a team that necessarily has to go out and want Buddy Hield. The value for them is that, yeah, you will get some shooting. But more importantly, you'll get his $19 million off of the books, and you'll wash your hands with having to pay Keldon Johnson $80 million over the next 4 years. Because you have such a young team, though, I don't know how much they're looking at that as like a thorn in their side. Because Keldon Johnson, $80 million, sure. What were you going to do otherwise with that $80 million? Kevin Durant ain't coming through the door. LeBron James ain't about to come to San Antonio. You'll be fine paying Keldon Johnson $20 million. A few other spots that they have for Buddy Hield. Houston Rockets, again, I'm not a fan of that. Yeah, they're saying Kevin Porter Jr. again. I'm just not. I don't see that. The Mavericks, this is one that a lot of people are talking about on Twitter. They're saying the Mavericks could match Hield with the salaries of Tim Hardaway Jr. or Rashawn Holmes. Hardaway could serve as a lower usage replacement for Hield in Indiana, and perhaps a reunion with Rick Carlisle could get him back to his form a few years ago. Due to the remaining 2 years on Hardaway Jr. and Holmes contracts, the Mavericks may need to include a first-round pick to entice the Pacers. I like this one a lot. This is also almost kind of like the Raptors idea where, hey, you trade Buddy Hield, you get another big contract in return, and you get guys who do the similar things that Buddy Hield do, not at the same level. Tim Hardaway Jr. has not shot the ball or is not as good as Buddy Hield. I get it, but he can give you some of the same things, which is shooting and spacing. He has a big contract. Yeah, it's going to take another year to get off of it. That's fine. But because of that, now you bring in a first-round pick. 2027 first-round pick from the Mavericks, and you good. Nope, there's no telling what the Mavericks look like in 2027. There's just no telling what any team looks like. And the Mavericks, they don't have the biggest draft capital, but the stipend rule, they'll be able to give away either this one or the 2027 one. And we know every team wants to look away at the future. So give away the 2027 one, and you give Tim Hardaway Jr. in a perfect world, you're probably getting Josh Green. He don't make enough. You send Buddy Hield to the Mavericks. We try this trade. Voila. Trade is beautiful to me. It's definitely a win for the Mavericks. The Mavericks go out there and they add a sniper like Buddy Hield next to Kyrie and Luka. And then in return, the Pacers get a guy who does similar things to Buddy Hield, but they also get a first-round pick. I like that for the Pacers. This is just as good as potentially the Raptors trade in the sense of you get Gary Trent Jr. The next team we have up here is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies made a strong effort to improve their three-point shooting last year with significant changes to their bench. They could improve their overall volume of threes made by swapping Luke Kennard for Buddy Hield. He could situationally close games for them with their small forward slot fluid. Also, by going from Kennard's $14.8 million salary to Hield's $19.3, they'd have a larger salary that they could potentially flip later for a definitive starting three if the opportunity comes. The trade may feel like a lateral move for the Pacers, but it can make sense for several reasons. They get one of the most efficient shooters in the league who could have a smaller role in usage, allowing other young players to play more. They also have more optionality with Kennard since he has a team option, such as extending or resigning him to a new team-friendly deal. I don't like this deal for the Memphis Grizzlies. You don't get rid of one of the best three-point shooters in the league to have one temporarily. I'm not trading Luke Kennard to bring in Buddy Hield to trade Buddy Hield in a couple more months. Not doing that. I'm not doing that. The Memphis Grizzlies need a 3. They need to be having their eyes on OG Anunoby type level player. Because right now, we talking about Ja, Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane. We talking about potentially starting David Roddy. They need a 3. So unless you have hope and Buddy Hield playing 3, or you fully committed to Desmond Bane playing 3, I don't like it. Desmond Bane is going to have to play some 3 when Ja gets back. But I wouldn't do this trade. And if I'm the Pacers, I'm not doing this trade either. I like the Mavericks win a lot more because I don't think the Grizzlies are giving any draft capital to get Buddy Hield. I think they have their eyes on bigger prizes at that small forward position. They're talking about the Malcolm Brogdon trade again. Just not a fan of it. However, his 2-year, $45 million extension that they originally signed him to is set to kick in this season. If the Pacers want to prioritize cap flexibility for 2024, they may prefer to see Brogdon sent to a third team. Exactly. Moving on from that one, the Nets dumped Joe Harris to create much flexibility as possible for potential trades. A framework that can make sense is absorbing Hield with the trade exception while sending Royce O'Neal back. Giving the Pacers a good role player by sending O'Neal, the Nets would be slightly above the luxury tax line and would be able to get below with a trade. Don't do it, Indiana. Unless they're giving you major draft capital, don't do it. Philadelphia. This is one I've been waiting to hear. The Philadelphia 76ers could be looking to make a significant difference starting lineup this year if they trade James Harden. Such a trade could feature multiple teams where the Sixers get back draft picks and players who can help them maximize their window around Joel Embiid. Hield would make a lot of sense for the Sixers as part of a multi-deal that sends Harden to preferred destination like the Los Angeles Clippers. If Harden is to be traded to the Clippers, they could be looking to balance their backcourt by sending out a guard like Norman Powell. The Sixers are trying to keep their 2024 cap flexibility, so they'll likely prefer expiring contracts. Powell could be a great addition to the Pacers rotation if they value him in his remaining 3 years, $57.7 million deal. I like that. The only difference is you're probably not getting no draft capital. I'll prefer draft capital and cap flexibility over Norman Powell. Give me Tim Hardaway Jr., give me Gary Trent, and give me some draft capital. I'm going to try to get a first-round pick. I like Norman Powell, but I don't think the Pacers are in need of Norman Powell. There's just other good options out there. And I think that the Pacers, when I look at them, they're in a situation where they could really use as much draft capital as possible. I love the way that they were drafted, like I said in the first part of the video. But when you look at their picks, they have 2 first-round picks next year, a second-round pick. This is protected, 1 through 10. Just go get more draft capital. This is a team that on paper with the youth that they have, if they can collect draft picks and draft capital, I would try next year to shoot for OG Anunoby. Get more draft capital. If you get a draft pick from the Mavericks 2027, I would give a multiple first-round picks if I was them. Because then you think about it, you potentially have Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, OG Anunoby, Jarris Walker, Miles Turner. Off your bench, you got Obi Toppin, Bruce Brown. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. We also got another list of 5 teams. We got the Raptors, same thing, Gary Trent Jr., Houston Rockets, Kevin Porter Jr., the Miami Heat we haven't heard. Miami connected on just 34.4% of three-pointers last season, which was 4th worst in the NBA. This offseason, they also lost Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, who ranked 2nd and 3rd for the most three-pointers made for the Heat last season. Hield could run dribble handoffs with Bam Adebayo, which is one of the more popular actions for Miami last season. What do they have to give? Are they giving up Tyler Hero? Don't think so, because that's what you need for Damian Lillard. I just don't think the Heat have an avenue to get Buddy Hield right now. The Orlando Magic, a fan favorite, which we'll get to. Orlando is a team that desperately needs shooting help on the perimeter. The Magic averaged just 31.1 attempts per game on three-pointers last season, which was 4th lowest in the league. They ranked last in NBA spacing. Hield would immediately help provide that spark. I agree. You talking about Markelle Fultz, Buddy Hield, Franz Wagner, Paolo Wendell. You have Anthony Black, Chet Howard, Jonathan Isaac is a name, Gary Harris is a name, Chuma Okeke is names that I've seen been thrown around to potentially go to Indiana from Orlando for Buddy Hield. I like it, but are they extending Buddy Hield? Are they going to bring Buddy Hield back? Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder had the highest rate of open three-pointers in the NBA last season, but still finished in the bottom third of the league in shot making. He would knock down a lot of those unguarded looks if he were traded here. Plus, the Thunder have a surplus of draft picks as well as talented young players that offer to bring Buddy Hield in. I wouldn't lie. This would be a spot for me that I'm going to look at if I'm Indiana, because they do have a lot of young talent that you could potentially take some chances on. You know what I mean? What is Poku about? Kenrich Williams. He's not young talent, but hey, you know, they have so much young talent that a lot of those guys become disposable. Obviously, they have guard surplus, but I look at Trey Mann, if I'm a team around the league, like, you know, they have so many different guys that, yeah, I would try to go get one of those young guys that they may not have opportunity for anymore and some of that draft capital, and I think that's a win-win for the Pacers going forward. Now, to wrap up the video, I do have a couple of trades that y'all sent me on Twitter. Shout out to my guy, Chase Hoops. One of his trades that he sent, because a lot of y'all sent a lot of them. One of the trades he sent has the Pacers receiving Jonathan Isaac and a 2025 first-round pick via the Denver Nuggets. That goes to Indiana, and the Magic get Buddy Hield. The Magic getting Buddy Hield was a popular one that I've seen on Twitter. I'm not mad at this deal. This is kind of like Gary Trent Jr. This is kind of like Tim Hardaway Jr., where you bring in Jonathan Isaac and his contract, and because of that, you're able to be afforded a first-round pick, and it's a 2025 first-round pick. Granted, it comes from the Nuggets, but those late first-round picks, those have some value, especially for a team that is drafted as well as the Pacers. So I like a deal like this. You take a flyer on Jonathan Isaac. He is playing one of the positions that you seem to not be totally solidified in, and he brings defensive tenacity and versatility if he's able to stay healthy. Another trade that we got from my guy, the 2K Messiah. Shout out to 2K Messiah. He has the Pacers getting Keldon Johnson, of course, because he's a Pacers fan. He has the Celtics getting Buddy Hield, and he has the Spurs getting Malcolm Brogdon and one first-round pick via the Celtics, and then a second-round pick via the Pacers that comes from Milwaukee. I like it for the Celtics. You get Buddy Hield for practically Malcolm Brogdon, who you didn't really value that much. You practically traded him a couple months ago, except the trade fell through. The Spurs get a first-round pick for Malcolm Brogdon. He could go over there and play Spurs basketball, and then Keldon Johnson goes to the Pacers. I like this deal a lot. If there was any team that would take on Malcolm Brogdon and his money, it would be the Spurs, because again, their rebuild is going to be a couple of years, and this is a Spurs type trade. The Spurs are the type of organization that says, hey, Keldon Johnson is solid, but Keldon Johnson isn't needed on our team for $20 million a year. He's just not. We can trade him, and we can bring back a contract that will get off of our books in a couple years, who can help the point guard position, playing with and without the basketball. I like that for the Spurs. My guy Robert, he has the Clippers getting TJ McConnell. He has the Pacers receiving Evan Fournier from the Knicks, Robert Covington from the Clippers, a 2024 first-round pick via Detroit from the Knicks, and 2 second-round picks from the Clippers. One that comes from the Indiana, Utah, and Cleveland trade, so the Pacers will ultimately get their own second-round pick back, and then a second-round pick that comes from the Raptors. So my Knicks will get Buddy Hield. We'll be giving up a first-round pick and Evan Fournier. Not a bad trade. Not a bad trade at all. It's just the other trades they may like more as far as what they're getting back on the wing. Now, if the Pacers are committed to just opening up money, then they'll like this trade. You get draft picks, or you open up money in a year or two. But if they're looking at like Keldon Johnson, it's like, oh, that's the type of guy we want next to Halliburton and Miles Turner and Jarris Walker, then they got to jump on that one immediately. But I do like that one, Robert. Some of y'all sent some trades that were a little bit ludicrous, a little bit crazy, showed your fandom just a little bit. So I want y'all to rework and revise some of those trades with the new information y'all have gotten from this video. Drop some trade ideas, some insight and thoughts and opinions on some of those trades we went over, or some of those possible destinations for Buddy Hield. If there's a team or an organization you didn't hear in this video, make sure you talk about it in the comments. I'll be checking y'all out. As always, this is Pee Wee the Plug. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I will see y'all soon. I'm out. Peace.